Chris. How are you?
Hi, George.
Nice to see you.
I see you're on my piano.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming. There's a reason I asked you to come down today. I was thinking that it might be time for me to become the 4th member of Coldplay.
The 4... I don't mean to disappoint, but there are kind of 4 members.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Just maybe one of you isn't living up. And you're out, I'm in. What do you think?
The only thing I can do is audition you.
Okay, let me audition. Go ahead.
Then someone will be sacked accordingly.
Okay.
Even if it's me.
This is a song I wrote for somebody's famous wife, okay? See if you're ready for this one.
Okay, George. You're up. It sounds fantastic, George. Fantastic. I don't think this is going to fly. Really, really good. Oh, George, hey,
when does the tour start?
Oh, well, next Thursday.
I'm in.
So, yeah, it sounded pretty phenomenal.
Well, then where'd I meet you?
You're in the wrong job. See you at London Heathrow, 6:15 a.m. Monday. We'll see you.
I'm in Coldplay.
We'll see you on tour. Get me out of here, Rick.
There you go, a little taste of Violet Hills. Brand new music from one of the biggest bands in the world. And tonight, the hour is your backstage pass, exclusive, all access with Coldplay.
We weren't really getting along, so we thought, well, let's get a little house kind of thing. This is where we hang out, it's where we philosophize, it's where we theorize, it's where we hypnotize.
We will go inside their London studio, one-on-one interviews, stuff you've never seen before, and perhaps the greatest jam session of all time. All right, maybe not the best jam session, but we will give you the best story ever. It involves sheep.
I think I must have scared this sheep or made him angry or something, because...
We'll go track by track on 2 of your favorite records ever made. Parachutes.
Classic.
High Speed.
Not so classic.
Hell yeah, it's your boyfriends in Coldplay like you've never seen them before, starting now on the hour. I hope you're excited. It is nice to be with you today. I am your boyfriend, George Strombolopoulos, and I know that every single one of you women, and at least 10 to 11% of you men, would leave me in a heartbeat for the lead singer of the band we're going to talk to today. Yes, don't say no, you would. If I was sitting at a dinner table and you were supposed to come meet me, and then Chris Martin from Coldplay was over there and said, hey, over here. Yeah. Dinner for one for me, all right? So this is a very special edition of the hour, as it is an exclusive all-access hangout with your friends in the band Coldplay. I will say this, if you love the band, I don't need to sell you on them because you're here to watch this band. If you don't know the band or aren't that into what they do, let me say this to you. What Coldplay managed to pull off is actually quite remarkable. I've spent a lot of time working in the music business, and anybody who's been in the business will tell you that for a British band to break in America is very difficult. A British band can break in Canada. That's not as hard for them to do. We have a longer history. Maybe it's because the Queen's on our money. I don't know. But it's some of our money. The hockey players, too. But the idea of a British band breaking America is pretty remarkable. And lots of bands, as big as Oasis were at their peak, they weren't that huge in America. Radiohead at their peak didn't sell that many records in America. It's very hard to do. So along comes this band Coldplay. And I remember the day that the video came out. I remember working at Much Music, and there was this moment where they went, hey, there's this new band people like called Coldplay. We're going to put the video on. Apparently it was the second attempt at this video. The lead singer, they said, was really sick when he recorded it. He's just walking on a beach. I remember thinking, what? What is that? Walking on a beach. And so they pressed play on the machine, and a bunch of people who worked at Much Music started to watch the song. And it was the song Yellow. And everybody started to sing along, and we went, oh yeah, this is good. They haven't been able to do this in a long time. The question, of course, was, but would it translate? Would it work in North America? And oh, did it ever. Coldplay became massive on that first record. And then the big question is, fine, you have one out of the way. Can you write a second record? the argument could be made, they wrote an even better record the second time around. They are one of the biggest bands in the world, without a doubt. They've managed to accomplish a lot in all parts of the globe. That's very difficult to do, so we're very honored, my friends, to give you one of the biggest and most interesting bands on the planet, Coldplay. Here's their bio. Oh, the beautiful sound that is Coldplay, one of the biggest bands of our time. All right, so how did Coldplay come to be? Well, let me tell you. Singer Chris Martin grew up in England in the hamlet of Whitestone, which is near Exeter. His child was filled with cricket and church. His old man was an accountant. His mama was a music teacher. Then one day, when he was about 11 years old, Chris sat down at the piano and, well, it literally struck a chord. Now, fast forward September 1996. Chris went to University College London, where he enrolled in ancient world studies, and during orientation week he met a guy named Johnny Buckland. They became fast friends and roommates. Soon Chris and Johnny met Guy and Will, and the fellas decided to start a band, the aforementioned Coldplay. And it was all yellow. Yeah, there's that song again, Yellow. Coldplay's first smash hit from their debut album called Parachutes came out in 2000. Think of that, 8 years ago when Coldplay hit the scene. By the way, the hits kept on coming. In 2002, they released their second album called The Russian Blood to the Head, which gave us Clocks, The Scientist, In My Place. And in 2005, they released an album called X and Y. That album debuted at #1 in 32 countries, including Canada. The guys have won your mainstream Grammy and Brit Awards. They've also won the hard-to-get critical awards like NME, but can you believe it? They even won a Juno back in 2006 for Best International Album. But Coldplay is about more than just selling records. It actually sold about 33 million, by the way. Back in 2005, the band took the stage for Live 8 to pressure world leaders to fight poverty. They're also ambassadors for Oxfam. They've visited farmers in Haiti, Mexico, and Ghana on behalf of Oxfam's Make Trade Fair campaign.
It takes 316 trees to make 100 pounds of coffee. Imagine how much work that is.
Extracurricular activities aside, Coldplay are obviously still in the music business. So here's what they did. They hooked up with legendary record producer Brian Eno. Eno has worked with the likes of David Bowie, the Talking Heads, some little band called U2, maybe you've heard of them. And one of the first things Brian asked Coldplay to do were reconnect as people, because the years of touring and fame and families and such, they weren't getting along the way they could have. So he said, get a headquarters, move in, become friends again, and make a record. And that's exactly what they did. Coldplay recorded their 4th album. It's called Viva La Vida. They put their first single online, Violet Hill. They made it available for free, and in just 1 week, 2 million people downloaded it. All right, so there's the bio on Coldplay. Check the song out.
George.
Oh, I blew it. God, that's a good song, isn't that song? Wait, hold on.
Come on. Butterfly. What song is it? With a broken wing. Yeah. Which, I'll accompany.
Okay.
I can't play this.
Figure that out.
I can't play this, and you can't really
I can't
play
play yours at all. How are you, man? Nice to see you.
So, I'm okay.
Welcome to your studio.
Well, welcome to our studio.
This is Chris Martin, everybody. This is his little rock and roll. So here we are in your old bakery.
This is our bakery. Yeah, we have broken a rule here by having a keyboard on top of a piano, which is tantamount to, you know.
Who sets those rules?
Just a kind of musical heavenly body that you never really see.
It's just that it
I
happens.
think Bono's probably chairman of it.
You call yourself a fourth
Brian
Bono?
Adams is probably on the committee.
I bet he's definitely on the committee.
But they Radiohead, of course, would be consultants, and they would never ever allow this.
Well, now why would you have
But this is
to?
because we're in rehearsal, like I said
Do
to
you need 2 pianos? Like,
I don't need 2 pianos, but we're doing, because in our concert we've got 2 different locations for keyboard.
Right.
In the bakery we don't have enough space.
Fair enough. We should explain what this is, though. This
is our studio.
Yeah.
So don't want to sound like Cribs, but this is...
This is kind of like...
This is where we have sex.
No,
this is where the magic happens.
Oh, which is
That's
also...
what I'm supposed to say.
Sex. Also sex.
So we have Will's world behind those screens.
Okay.
Guy's area where he just stands and is handsome. Mm-hmm. Johnny's area where he stands and looks at Guy. And this is where I stand or sit. And sometimes I stand here when I come off piano, which is my favourite...
place to be?
One of my favourite places to be, yeah.
Mm-hmm. This art here, having this shot, all this stuff, I assume that you guys put that on?
Yeah, Will did all the painting.
Yeah.
Our drummer, who's not here.
What is the significance of that? The King is Dead.
The King, I don't know, he just liked it.
Makes sense.
When Will does something, you don't question it.
You just let the drummer do what he wants to do.
You just let him do what he wants to do, and if he wants to paint a picture of a pony, you just let it happen.
Talk about how important it is to have a place like this.
When you are in a band, you can tend to get distracted from each other and separated by the things that happen to you. Mm-hmm. We thought we weren't really getting along, so we thought, well, let's get a little house kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then there's an upstairs as well.
Right, let's go take a look upstairs.
You want to take a look
upstairs?
I feel this is very like a real estate agent. Please, we have... What am I supposed to do? Say, come on?
So now we're leaving the downstairs. We're going up here?
Upstairs, yeah.
All right.
Come.
Where'd you get this? This is nice.
That is a friend of ours.
John, that's John Lennon.
Oh, okay, sorry, that's another picture.
Right. All right, so this is just a hangout place?
This is where we hang out, it's where we philosophize, it's where we theorize, it's where we hypnotize.
About everything?
We just talk about everything.
So you got watch
we'll
TV?
Probably talk about you tomorrow.
Yeah, you got like a lot of books, a lot of design. There's some architecture books that were here earlier.
Yep.
And music DVDs?
Yep.
Do you watch music DVDs and go, here's what not to do?
We watch them to steal from and to be inspired by and to be uninspired by.
And this is where you stay?
This is where all four of us sleep every night.
Boy, it's a really...
We sleep like Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Nice. Very intimate band, isn't it?
We're close.
Can you play that? Do you know how to play it?
I can, but I don't know where the beaters are.
No, it's just cool.
You just get some sticks and you play that.
Very nice. And there's more office space here?
This goes to a sort of... It's a sort of sensual area. We don't really like to show it on camera.
Fair enough. Coldplay HQ. This is totally Cribs, isn't it?
It's pretty Cribs.
Nice. Stick around. More with Coldplay and the Hour in London when we come back.
Every time I play this, it's $500 from your bank account. I won't play it.
Is it Coldplay's on
I'll
cheaper?
take it back. I'll take it back. Now he has to pay you.
That's right. Elton, bring it on.
From the Arena Network.
All right, welcome back to the Hour. We are in London, as you saw before the break. Chris Martin from his rock and roll combo known as Coldplay will be playing the songs of Elton John for you.
You can tell everybody this is your song. Like that.
He played with you in Atlanta, didn't he?
He certainly did. You can tell everybody. Not that though. He didn't even play that.
No, he played one of your songs.
He played this. You can tell everybody.
That's your version of Smells Like Teen Spirit, isn't it?
Basically, yeah.
Nice. Thank you for letting us into your workspace.
Thank you for coming in. I know that the smell is abhorrent.
It's a bit much, I'm not going to lie.
It's not easy for Canadians to deal with, the smell of English people.
Is it the smell of anticipation for your new record?
It's the smell of
panic?
Very scared men.
Are you guys scared?
Well, we're always a bit nervous in this before we're waiting for a record to come out, when you've tried so hard on something. It's a bit, if I'm honest with you, and between you and me and your millions of viewers, it's nerve-wracking.
You once said, when you were on our show last time, that when you put out a record, it's like calling a hot girl and leaving her a voice message. And
it's exactly what it's like, man.
Waiting for her to call back.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And you're like, I'm pretty sure the message was good. Maybe I should have not said that thing about, those strippers. You're so much hotter than any stripper I've ever been with.
Are you aware of this phase? you know, the nerves before the record comes out. Are you aware of this phase when you set out to make an album?
No, I don't think about it, and it only dawns on me that that's why we're very loath to say something finished, because then we have to let it go, you see. You can't worry about it too much, but we'll worry as much as we can.
This record's a different record for Coldplay?
Well, it's shorter.
Yeah, but that's intentional, right?
I think so, yeah.
It's a difference. You push yourself in different ways. You're
I
singing
hope
differently.
so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I sing this. You can tell it. I know. I wish I did.
I have to pay all the sync rights for that song now.
You know, every time I play this, it's $500 from your bank account. I won't play it.
Is it Coldplay song
I'll
cheaper?
take it back. I'll take it back. Now he has to pay you.
That's right. Elton, bring it on. We can talk about Elton John just a second. But the idea of this being a different record, the trilogy of the first three, in a sense, closing a sound, closing a style.
Well, I think it's important to try and get more colourful as you go along, and whether or not anybody likes what we're doing, we definitely have got some new colours, which is a good thing.
Can your band be called an organic band, in a sense that a lot of the stuff that you guys did in the first three records came naturally? Like it's just who you were at the time and where you were at?
Yeah, well, I hope so.
And then I wondered if you make a conscious decision to add more colors to a record, is that a new thing for you, where you've added a new element, a new variable to the process?
Yeah, but you have to wait until it becomes organic. That's why it takes a while. So, of the songs that ended up getting on our new album, there's probably like 4 or 5 warm-up songs to that, where it wasn't quite so organic. But most of what we're actually going to release is kind of live takes of performances.
And why did you want to do it like that?
Because it's cheaper.
Shorter record, less studio
No,
time.
because Brian Eno, one of our producers, is very impatient. So if you can record 8 things at once, he's more likely to stay interested.
Fix it in the mix, right?
Yeah.
Talk about Brian Eno.
He is inspiring to be around. He was like a godsend for us. It was like the best thing that could have happened to us. I think he only becomes interested in a band when they get massive and terrible at the same time. Because he sees an opportunity to keep you massive but make you good.
Did you have a sense that Coldplay had reached a stage where you didn't want it to be that band? Like you wanted something else?
No, we reached a stage where we thought we can't get much bigger, so we have to try and get better.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing of quantity or quality. So we felt, well, we need to practice a bit and improve and try and validate. You know, I was feeling bad because I'm sure there's some 16-year-olds or, you know, kids who say they like Coldplay and then took some abuse for it in the playground. And so I had a feeling about 18 months ago, I really would like to make them proud by you know, trying to improve.
You know, I can understand why a fan would take abuse for liking a band, but what's weird about the Coldplay story is that you guys were Band of the Year, Album of the Year, not just at things like the Grammys Alternative Album of the Year, but NME liked you. So lots of different people like those records.
Yeah.
Those same people, they're not criticizing your new stuff, they're criticizing the same records that they liked earlier.
Right.
And so it's like all of a sudden it became, again, you've talked a lot about it, other people's perception of your band.
Yeah, but you know, often they're right, you know, so that's why I don't...
But you don't believe that entirely, though.
No, I do actually. I think that we can always be getting better. I really do. And I always can't believe, you know, we got given the position we're in. So it's always kind of a catch-up for us.
When did you get a sense that you had been given that position?
Probably 2000 and... Probably when we played a festival called Glastonbury for the first time. people who run Glastonbury, the Evises, took a risk on us and gave us a higher position than we really deserved. And that's kind of how I feel about my life in general. That we've got a slightly higher position than we deserve, so we always trying to get there. But I don't think we ever will, which is kind of frustrating. But
You toured a lot, and you put out records, and you kept touring, and there wasn't really a break.
no.
You needed that?
Well, we never have breaks so much because my way of making sense of the day is to sit down and sing about it. So I find it less of a break to not play music. Do you know what I mean? When it gets to midnight or 1 a.m. and everyone's kind of off to sleep, that's when I suppose it's like writing a diary, I think. You know, you go and just play.
Which one do you play it on?
Well, my house is just down the street, so if I'm not here, there's another thing hidden behind here, this sound, which is a new sound, which is like a different kind of piano, which is all metallic. So,
Does that have a
was the question?
Woody Guthrie line on the side of this?
Yeah.
This machine kills fascists? There you go, nice.
Well, that one says this machine kills racists. but
Racist.
His one said this machine kills fascists.
What's the one thing you wanted to work on with your role in this band?
Lyrics.
You didn't print the lyric sheets.
Oh, I never print lyric sheets. It would be like, you know, giving away the recipe for Jaffa cakes. Do you have Jaffa cakes?
No, but usually when we come here, people ask us to bring them back.
Well, exactly, because they're incredible cookies. So I don't print the lyrics, partly because I'm embarrassed by them sometimes, and secondly because there's no need to.
Why not?
Why not?
Why is there no
Well,
need?
because you can listen to them.
Yeah, when you were a kid, didn't you like follow along?
I did, but maybe it comes out of insecurity, I don't know.
It's a funny place for you to be. You're in a pretty big band.
I am.
I'm
I don't
sure
feel
that-
it today because we haven't done anything. We haven't been out of this building for a year. I haven't left this street for 2 years. I live there when I come here. And
Your family must
watch the
love
news.
getting you out of there then. I just go to the office. Get them
Yeah.
away.
It takes me 46 seconds
To get here?
to get here, yeah. And it's terrible because I keep everyone here very late, but that, you know, that's our job.
All right, so we spent time with Chris. He'll be back on the show in a little bit. But what about the rest of the guys? Well, next up, Johnny Buckland and Guy Berryman and the pitfalls of being in a foursome.
It's like a weird marriage.
But with 4 people.
Yeah, and no sex.
And no sex.
Plus, for the first time ever, you will hear some of the song that inspired Coldplay's new record.
Start with this. Just because I'm losing doesn't mean I'm lost.
All that and more when the hour returns.
BC.
This, by the way, is the entire Coldplay record sound, the new one.
Well, and a whole lot of triangle as well. And the triangle is played by the man who's about to give you his best story ever. So we'll continue to hang here in the Coldplay compound. Here comes the best story ever from Johnny.
When I was 11 years old, I was in the Scouts. As you can see, I still like the uniform. When we used to go playing, we went playing in this field at night, and we'd run around chasing each other. And one night while we were doing this, I slipped over in a big pile of cow muck. And I slipped over right next to a sheep. And I think I must have scared this sheep or made him angry or something, because when I did that, I tried to get up. He ran over to me and butted me back down. I tried thinking now, what the hell am I going to do? I can't get away from this thing. I can't get up fast enough, and he keeps knocking me down. And this happens over and over again, and I'm panicking, you know, screaming for help. My friends are rushing around. They don't know what to do. Someone picks up a knife and tries to throw it at the sheep, but misses, almost hits me. But, you know, I'm going crazy. Then my friend Andy runs over and he wrestles this sheep and pulls it to the ground, and, you know, we run off. That was the day I was almost murdered by a sheep. From that day forward, I've never worn wool. I don't eat lamb. I don't do, you know, I don't go near the little But that was my best story ever. And I'm Johnny from Coldplay.
Best story ever!
All right, the hour continues to roll along from a converted bakery, which is now Coldplay headquarters, and John is here. Nice to see you, man. How are you?
Nice to see you again.
You too. Bakery? Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the last time you guys had a collective home was your dorm room, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, no, my bedroom in
bedroom?
a flat. Yeah, it was not quite as nice and not very much room. But, you know, we were lucky, really, because we had, you know, neighbours below and above, and they were fine with us playing the drums in there.
Is it important for the psyche of a band to have a place to go to?
It's the best thing we ever did. I can't believe
Really?
it took us so long.
Imagine it's a way for you guys to kind of reconnect with each other.
Yeah, it's a place to hang out. It's like a youth club. Or slightly old, mate.
Slightly old.
Slightly old club.
The process of making this record was, I heard a lot about how there was a conscious decision to kind of move away from what would be a traditional Coldplay sound.
Yeah, we kind of thought we'd done some tricks and that there was a danger of us kind of overusing them, and it would be a bit too comfortable to try and make another Coldplay sounding record.
What's a Coldplay trick?
It's too boring.
But is it like, do one of those things with the piano, do that thing that we
Yeah,
did?
or do that thing with the guitar, you know. And you find yourself sometimes doing it and you think, oh God, I've done that twice before, you know, and this is really boring.
Is there an element of fearlessness that needs to exist within a band today?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Because I think, you know, the records that we all love the most are generally, you know, very brave records, and it's new and it's different and it's exciting, and, you know, maybe, you know, you worry that people aren't going to like it when they hear it, but I think that boldness will come across, and it's for that reason people will like it, you know, so you've got to be brave.
What is your relationship like with your biggest hits? You know, some bands are tired of playing the big hits. Some bands want to run from it, and others just, I'm into it. This is who I am.
It depends, yeah. I don't know, I don't think we've really had any big hits.
Well, in North America, you've had a lot of it, you know.
Where do we go? Nobody knows. Lights will guide you home.
Is there a song that people love that you just go, I want to do this one again?
Not really. I think in terms of our really big ones, I'm grateful to them all.
When you guys got off the last tour, how much time had you spent together before you came in here? Like, were the relationships as solid as they could have been?
Yeah, for the most part, you know, they were pretty good. I think they're better now. Mm-hmm. I mean, after a long tour, you go your separate ways for a few weeks. You know, we'd been touring for almost 2 years, and before we hadn't had a break after we'd recorded X and Y, and so, you know, we'd been in each other's pockets for three and a half years, really. So we needed a few weeks apart.
How different is it for you being in this band as grown men, as opposed to being in this band as boys?
Drink less lager.
Is that really less? I would imagine more to get through the long tours, you know.
No, you get a beer gut now.
Is that... So it's less beer, but do you approach each other differently?
Yeah, I think we were a lot nicer to each other, actually. A lot more tolerant.
How does the presence of all the kids play a role?
Well, I mean, in our lives, hugely.
Yeah.
In our band's life, I think in a way to make us a bit kinder on each other.
Yeah. Talk about the personalities in the band. If you look at everybody in the band, are there archetypes? What's Chris like?
It's quite a hard question to sum up in one word. Chris is obviously the one that has the biggest spotlight, you know, and so he's the one that kind of he takes most of the flack, I think. So he's more sort of up and down, I think, emotionally than the others. And you know, Will's the sensible one, and he likes to kind of think things through. And I don't know, it's so hard being inside this bubble to kind of you know, to see what actually to see what goes on. The relationships we have to each other are very complicated, and it's sometimes quite difficult to see.
I think sometimes you hit barriers that you kind of have to get through. It's like a weird marriage.
But with 4 people.
Yeah, and no sex.
And no sex. Well, maybe that's the problem.
All right, it's been fun so far, but now it's about to get serious. When we come back, 220 with Chris Martin.
Kylie or Benny Hill?
It depends what kind of hotel room.
Plus, Chris will walk us through Coldplay's biggest hits, track by track, in 220 when the hour with Coldplay continues.
June 15th on CBC.
Here's another 500.
That's for right back to me.
Back to you.
Can you keep it up? I'd like to buy a bakery. If we keep going. Where are you at now in terms of your work with Oxfam?
Well, where we're at with that is we just wholeheartedly support most things they do. I think we have mentioned fair trade a lot, so we don't specifically mention that at the moment on hands or anything. But also, we know I don't know. It's just we're just totally behind them.
And now that you've done it for years, though, it's been years since you almost crashed on a plane, going, you know, and that must have been quite a moment.
Every rock critic almost breathed a sigh of relief, but but didn't.
Not everybody's buying it. So, okay, if people don't know the story, tell them the story.
Well, it's not a very interesting story, but I mean, you know, we were on an aeroplane. There was a big dust storm. The pilot was some ex-fighter pilot, but that didn't mean he necessarily was so into the whole commercial thing.
Or the landing part.
Or the landing part, so he took us to the edge.
And you freaked?
I didn't freak so much as I thought, you know, they better get the greatest hits right. So he freaked. He went one way, we were very close to the ground. He went another way, we were like, that's it, it's over. And then somehow he pulled it together.
You had a moment, did you think, where you're living the rock and roll cliche?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But that's happened a few times now. I mean, we take a lot of flights, as I'm sure you do. I think it's probably inevitable.
Okay, so years into this, we're make trade fair, all that stuff. Being public about what you believe in, what have you learned about being that guy publicly for years?
I haven't learned it. It hasn't. What do you mean? Has it changed me?
Yeah, no. Just have you learned how to deal with it differently? Have you learned parts of it that you like better than other parts?
Yeah, probably. But I just still think that whether you're a plumber or a pop star, you should say what you believe in. It's just that, you know, a lot of plumbers don't get interviewed. It doesn't mean they shouldn't say, you know. So I don't feel like, for all the criticism you get for talking about things you believe in, I don't think you should stop. You know?
Sure.
I think the main thing we're focusing on at the moment is trying to clean up our touring, like, you know, environmentally and stuff. As sort of boring as it is to say it, it is like something we're trying to see what we can do with.
Have a carbon neutral tour of sorts?
Yeah, you know, I would love to have a tour which you could power, I don't know, if there's some way of making the floor sensitive to energy, so that if people jump up and down and stuff, it charges the whole...
I'm sure in a way.
So if you're playing badly and the crowd aren't into it, the power just cuts off.
More
and
often,
you have to finish. So it's their way of saying you're terrible.
More often than not, would you be unplugged or would you be full on?
I don't know, man. I don't think we want to take that risk.
That's an interesting idea, and I know a lot of artists are talking about doing that, having a cleaner / greener, for lack of a better term, tour. How do you then go, like, the band as a group talks about it and says, here's what we want to do?
Yeah, well, I think it's very hard, you know, but any improvement you can make is worth making. So we're still a dirty bunch of British people on tour, but, you know, if we can just reduce something by 2%, it's better than nothing.
Sure. Would you remember when you were a kid, when you heard a musician be more than just a musician? Like a musician actually be?
Well, I don't actually remember when the first time that was. Probably Live Aid. I was like, who is this guy with the mullet telling us about Africa? But
You could
worked.
have been one of 8 singers at that point.
It could have been. It could have been any one of the lineup. But it worked because, you know.
Well, you were really young in Live Aid too, weren't you?
Yeah, I was 8.
And then you played Live 8.
We played Live 8, and we weren't very good, but we would. So I'm looking forward to Live, whatever the next one will be.
You ready for 220, sir?
Oh yes.
If you had to choose, would you add a tuba or a clarinet to your band?
Tuba.
Simon Cowell, Sassy Brit or Crime Against Humanity?
Move on.
Would you ever get into a fight with Gordon Ramsay, and if so, who would win?
100%, and it would end in a draw.
That's a draw. Did you have a band in high school?
Yes, Gordon Ramsay's Fighting Nightmare.
Did the band get you chicks in high school?
Absolutely not.
Best thing about London?
Chicks.
Worst thing about London?
Bands.
What is Marmite?
Terrible. No, it's great. It's great.
Have you ever almost hit someone with a 2x4 at a football match?
What's a 2x4?
Like a big chunk of wood?
Oh, at a football match? No.
No? Have you ever been in a football match where things got out of control?
Yep.
Were you the reason?
Nope.
Flight of the Conchords or Benny Hill?
Both, but particularly Flight of the Conchords.
Kylie or Benny Hill?
It depends what kind of hotel room.
Very ornate.
Kylie.
Speaking of, who would you rather? Margaret Thatcher? Gordon Brown?
Who rather what?
Whatever
Be in
you
that
want.
hotel room with?
Yes.
I say three-way.
Wow.
Or halfway, really, if it's two guys.
Dude, that is a sex video.
Yeah.
You should make that.
Let's look it up.
Tell the truth, how bad are Canadian accents?
Fantastic. Don't get paranoid.
What are Coldplay's favorite cold cuts?
What's that?
Like meat, salami, chops.
We're not such a big meat band.
No? Head cheese? No, you're vegetarian, obviously, but you still do vegetarian?
I like breast of tofu,
Breast
leg of tofu, and thigh of tofu.
Very exciting, isn't it? Do you ever forget, when you go on the road, sometimes you have all that stuff on your hands, you ever forget what the shit stands for, and you go, oh God, what was that again?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I realise I'm promoting a shopping list and trying to buy fair trade.
And finally, Danzig or Captain Sensible?
I don't know what either of those are, but they sound great.
All right, look, if you get a chance, stick around because you do not want to miss what's next. Track by track on two of Coldplay's biggest albums, find out the secrets behind the hits and what they really think about the songs you love so much.
Sparks?
Trying to rip off Leonard Cohen.
Yellow.
Trying to rip off My Bloody Valentine.
Plus, at one point, Coldplay was at a serious crossroads, and the future didn't look so certain.
I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you the sordid dirt. What do you want to know?
We'll get into that next on The Hour.
Roger.
Oh, track by track? Is it in depth?
Such a pleasure doing an interview with someone who's good at it.
No.
It just makes it so much easier.
You familiar with these two?
I am, certainly.
These are, all right. Let's quickly through the making this. Don't Panic. Tell me about that song.
Terrible.
Come on, you don't believe that, do you?
No.
Okay. Shiver.
Trying to rip off Jeff Buckley.
Spies.
Trying to rip off Radiohead.
Sparks.
Trying to rip off Leonard Cohen.
Yellow.
Trying to rip off My Bloody Valentine.
Trouble.
Elton John.
Parachutes.
Classic.
High speed.
Not so classic.
We never change.
Pretty good,
Everything's not lost.
isn't it?
You like? All right, let's move on to this next record here. The record that people didn't know you could write, because after the big one, the first, when the introduction, they
Yep.
always say the second record's really hard.
Yep.
Was there,
Every record's pretty hard.
was there a lot of pressure when you made this one?
There's pressure on everyone.
All right, Politic.
Our best ever song.
Really?
Well, it's in the top three.
Did you know at the time?
Yep.
In My Place.
Johnny's got a good riff on it.
God put a smile upon your face.
Yep. One of our longest titles.
The Scientist.
Good.
Come up to meet you and tell you I'm sorry.
Good.
What, it's all right? I mean,
Can you play something? Do you remember these songs off by heart?
I don't remember it.
Clocks.
Our first ringtone.
Daylight.
Interesting.
Yeah, all right. Green Eyes.
Interesting.
Warning Sign.
Not so interesting. But we are going to start playing it again.
You are? Mm-hmm. How come? If it's not so interesting.
Because you've got to bore people sometimes.
They have to go get the hot dog, right?
Yeah.
A Whisper.
I think our least popular song, but I'm It's one of the ones I like.
A Rush of Blood to the Head.
I just don't understand which bit of the song you're
That's
playing.
the beginning of it. How do you play the beginning of it? That's the beginning according to the official Coldplay.
I'm gonna buy this place and burn it down.
Okay, all I'm doing is adding notes. It's the same thing, right?
I'm gonna put it 6 feet underground.
Yeah, yours is better.
Oh yeah, that is
Fine.
what you said.
I'm just adding more notes, but it's the same note chords, right?
I see what you're doing.
Oh, yeah?
I get it. I get it.
All right, fine. Amsterdam,
A good city.
a great city. You said Politic was in your top 3.
Yeah.
What are the other 2?
Yellow and Fix You.
Fix
And
You's a
Clocks.
great- Fix You's a great song. When you write songs, I mean, you're a very passionate guy. I suspect you mean most of what you write.
Yeah, I definitely do on those ones.
Right. So when you have to revisit those emotions years later,
Well, I'm always happy to, you know. I'm particularly happy with those ones because I really believe... The reason I like Fix You is because it is not poetic. It's just completely naked. And
literal.
I don't think I would even write that now. But it was just at the time, it just felt like the right thing to do. And my other favourite song is a new song called Viva La Vida.
Where did this new record start? What was the sound?
The sound of this new record started with this song called Lost, which goes like this. This is a digital piano, so that you can play it very late in the night and nobody complains next door or anything. So start with this. Just because I'm losing doesn't mean I'm lost. And I like that because it was how I was feeling at the time, like a bit of a failure, but
In what
never going to
respect?
give up.
How could you be a failure after selling more than 20 million records?
Well, you know, a lot of people voted for Hitler.
You calling A Rush of Blood to Head Hitler? What are you
No, I'm saying, you know, that
Yeah.
sizes and everything, but, you know, so that line was kind of our starting point, was like, okay, we can get somewhere. So that was the starting point, and then it carried on from there.
You're saying the band you guys weren't getting along as well as perhaps you could have at a certain point?
Well, I don't know what the others are saying. You're interviewing us
They
individually.
actually, I know that they're all downplaying it, and I don't believe them.
Yeah, well, Guy will downplay everything, you know. Johnny will be shy about everything, and Will hasn't even...
Will hasn't shown up.
He hasn't even...
But he's got a baby, so a new kid, right?
Will did just have twins yesterday, so... Or the day before, but... So but he wouldn't tell you either, so it's be a waste of time. Be a
Right.
waste of your time and his.
But you...
I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you the sordid dirt. What do you want to know?
I know there's no Captain Bligh moment where you're on the back of the bus and you go, God, I don't like my band. But was there a point where you looked around at your band and thought, and they looked around at you and you were like, this isn't clicking maybe the way it should have, or it would have, or it has?
The sound of this record, to me, is the sound of Guy and Will and Johnny taking back the glory, which makes me very happy.
Because you've been thrust to the front of this, but you're not comfortable with it, right?
I am comfortable with it, but I like it when we're all together. So, whether you like what I'm singing about or whatever these days, the guitar playing is just better. And there's more riffs, and that kind of stuff makes me happy.
So the idea of getting a house, hanging around each other, reconnecting, that became part of the equation?
Yeah.
Whose idea was that?
Probably Phil's, our fifth member, who no one sees, but he's our handsomest and most talented member, but he's very English, and so he doesn't like to put himself out there. He said, you know, you've got to reconnect as people. And Brian Eno actually was saying that as well. And they were absolutely right.
Is it easy to hear that, or did you already know that?
It's never easy to hear criticism, but it is always useful and helpful in the end.
And so you started to play. I mean, did you watch that Metallica movie, Some Kind
Yeah,
of Monster?
we watched it about 17 times.
Could you relate to any of it?
We could relate to all of it except the end credits.
It was just a little bit different.
Because our day is exactly like that, except credits don't roll at the end. You've got to just hand it to them for sticking together. I found the whole film kind of depressing up until Robert Trujillo joins.
He brings a new energy.
Yeah, then it was like, okay, he's as good as Jason Newsted.
Is that Phil's role then in this band?
What, the Robert Trujillo?
Yeah. New energy, even though he's been around?
Yeah, well, it was because he went to Little Crackers and came back brighter, so when he wasn't around, it was not so fun, but he came back and was like, well, you've got to make something really good now.
And so how do you start that process after just having a line?
Just by, well, I don't even know if we've achieved it, but by spending an awful lot of time on it.
Thanks for coming up, man.
Hey man, thank you so much
Good to
for
see
coming
you.
all this way. It's a
Of
real
course.
treat.
Nice to see you again.